Welcome back. You're watching Cheche live on Citizen TV with the Deputy President Willam Ruto as today's guest. David, before the break, I cut you off.
Yeah. No, he was talking about the nomination of Kaiseri to take over CS Interior and Coordination. Things happen, but I think the public is also owed an explanation as to how those decisions are arrived at. You said he's in ODM, that's right, he has accepted to serve. But where is the accountability in the security system? What led to the dismissal of Olelenku? What are the identified failures of the outgoing IG? Or what was identified to have gone wrong?
Let me just say the following, that to be able to fix our security, there is an array of things that you must do. There are some that are personnel. Yeah, you need to get the right people. You need to get the right people with the right expertise to deal with that. You also need a whole range of other things. You need a structure that works. We are proposing legal and some administrative changes to Parliament. We have equipment. You need to get the people the equipment, the wherewithal to do the job. So we have sorted out a good portion of the equipment and getting the people to do the job. We have gotten to a great extent, we are enhancing personnel. We recruited 10,000 young people the other day. We have a little problem in court on some of them. We hope that will be sorted out so that we can get them trained and move on. We have the sector that we said about personnel, Kaiseri to replace Olelenku. We will get the next IG once we go through the process that is provided for in law. So that all that is going on because we are serious about sorting out this.
No, but that doesn't answer my question.
What is your question?
What was the big deal about Kimayo and Olelenku? What was found to have not gone right with the management or leadership of that particular sector?
There are issues that are personal, but there are issues also that are structural.
But they were public officers.
The architecture of the security sector, which we are trying to fix. It may have not necessarily been anything to do with which Kimayo could have done or Lengo could have done, because if you have a structural problem, you need to fix it. You need to make sure that it works. If you have shortage of equipment or shortage of personnel, I mean, that's something that you must fix. It doesn't matter who is there. If you don't have the men, if you don't have the equipment, if you don't have the resource to do this thing, it will not happen. So we are fixing all that. But let me say this. Let me say this. Let me say this.
Yes.
One more thing.
Yes.
I've had people say, yes, it stops with the president, right? The commander-in-chief who receives intelligence reports on all our behalf is telling us, guys, this and this and this is going to happen. Kimayo is going to do this, the IG is going to do this, the CS is going to do this, my deputy is going to do this. But Mutegi, you also have a role to play in making sure that we are all secure. You know, that is the nature of security anywhere in the world. I just had a discussion here, Woodwork telling me in some country where he was. I mean, ordinary people go to a police station and say, I have seen this and this. I have heard this and this. That is how citizens should make a contribution. When we went for Nyumbakumi, many people told us...
But Mr. Ruto, I gave you that example in the context of Westgate.
I'm just saying, yeah.
Right.
I'll come back then.
Yes.
I'm just saying. So you go to a situation where all of us, and the president, the commander-in-chief who receives intelligence reports on all our behalf says, everybody has a role to play, which is true. We went for Nyumbakumi because we are saying it's your responsibility to know your neighbor.
Granted.
I mean, people say it's unconstitutional.
Granted.
What is unconstitutional about knowing your neighbor?
Okay.
Surely. You know?
I think what you're doing there, a couple of things are happening there.
Let me move on. Just so we have responsibilities as citizens. You have a right to a secure environment. You have a right for security of your life and property and children and business. But you have a responsibility to make sure that in your neighborhood, if there is a criminal, you have a responsibility to
Let me
identify
propose something
and
to
say
the DP to narrow him down.
criminal.
But let's accept first that what's happening here is that the deputy president is doing some damage control.
I am not doing damage control.
This comes
I'm
from
just making a statement.
You're making a statement which has to do with the public backlash after the president spoke after the first Mandera attack, when he asked Kenyans to be responsible for their own security.
By the way, he said everybody has a, and I said the same statement.
A role to play.
I want to ask you, if you play, I was in Kajiado 2 weeks earlier than even the president made that statement. I made the same statement because it is the right statement. It is what happens everywhere in the world.
Okay, so David, quickly, before we go to
you cannot have a safe neighborhood.
It's true.
David. If you say it is not my business to know whether a criminal lives in the next province.
Thank you. And you made that point.
Let me say
David.
this in response to that. I share in that perspective that indeed everybody has a role to play in securing themselves and others. I think the context in which it was said is what created the problem. It was said alongside something else when responsibility demanded from you, accountability. So it seemed to be diverting that attention, that accountability. That's where the problem is. He should have said that perhaps separately after clearing with the responsibility part.
Uhuru Kenyatta
then
is the last person that I know that will try to run away from responsibility. He does not.
Okay.
Right?
Now,
and he knows.
Yes.
He knows full well. And for your information, I find him midnight, 1 a.m. awake because he knows he has a duty to Kenyans to make sure that they are secure.
So I agree with your perspective. It's just the way it was framed and presented at a time when people didn't expect to hear that. But the question, though, you have deftly avoided to answer.
Yes,
I must say,
David,
which it is. Let me now open it up like this. Is it true that there was a conflict in the structure and administration and the command of the police force because of its dual nature? There is the administration police and the Kenya Police Service. So the structures of command are creating friction and problems, and the outgoing IG had difficulty stamping his authority on that command. I would like you to deal with that in respect of the question you have dodged.
I didn't.
Which is why they were fired.
David, it's not correct for you to say I'm trying to dodge anything. I'm just being responsible.
Yes.
Yes, part of the changes we are going to propose is how we are going to manage the police in a coordinated manner.
That's right.
It is true that there's been a bit of tension between the administration police and the national police. You know, that comes with, you know, everybody have come from a background. It's natural for people to defend their turf, to say maybe we've come from this stock, we've come from that stock. That we are synchronizing, like everything else that is going on in Kenya. You know, the fact that governors are now living side by side by county commissioners. These were things we had initially problems, but they are being sorted out. The same thing. And we are to accelerate that gelling of the two forces in police. We are proposing some structural changes, which we hope Parliament will look at, so that we can have our men in uniform, especially policemen and administration policemen, serving the country instead of that contest.
You belittled and said it's a simple matter, the corruption that took place in the recruitment of the police, which was stopped because the poor went to court. And they nullified, the court nullified that intake. You say it's a small matter.
I did not say, I did not belittle. Maybe I said the small matter in this context. Can I contextualize?
Okay, then
that's fine.
My argument is this. Police recruitment and all other recruitments in government are prone rampant corruption. Whether it's the police, whether it's the military, whether it's universities. The other day I had some university. When they couldn't get students, the professor and the registrars were getting money to admit students. Why are you belittling those things? And the corruption in the animation of public institutions is serious.
Tell you, I said in this context, we had recruitment of 10,000 young men. The complaint was on about 800 of them out of 10,000. That's about less than 10%. You know, that's why I was saying it was a small, compared to 90% of what went right. What went wrong was less than 10%. And our position is, okay, why don't we isolate these 800 who there are complaints about their recruitment, allow the 9,000 to proceed. You know, you don't simply nullify a whole and disenfranchise so many Kenyans who legitimately went through the process and were identified as suitable serving as our policemen and women. You know, that's all we are saying. And we are saying, why don't we ask the court, isolate the 800 or so that we have problems with. Let us go repeat in those areas. But for heaven's sake, let us allow these other recruits who went through the mill. They had no issues. Nobody complained. There were no corruption allegations against them. Let them proceed and be trained so that we can secure the country.
So what are you going to do about admission in other institutions?
But we are respecting the rule of law. We are saying, let us wait. It's not an easy wait for us, especially when you have Kenya telling you, guys, we want security for our children and ourselves and our lives and our business. You know, it's not an easy wait. And I want to ask our very respectable men in the judiciary to put themselves in our position and in the position of many Kenyans. Even as we wait for you to make those decisions, please, public, you know, public interest.
Isn't it a cleaner thing to redo the exercise afresh, given that it's been dogged by such suspicions and you know? And secondly, it is not that only those that were identified may have gone through irregularly. I mean, there is belief that it was much more rampant than the ones which have been clearly identified.
But you know
secondly, those people can still go back and get recruited if they were fine and good, or they can be placed in an advantaged position if it is the final line. And still make the pass.
You see, you can make arguments both ways.
Yeah.
You know? Even those who are recruited fairly, you know, have a right. They can also go to court and say, I mean, surely, why have you disadvantaged me? I'm a Kenyan. I'm entitled as anybody else is. I went through the process legitimately without any issues. Why are you subjecting me to another process when I already went through it instead of taking me to where I'm supposed to? No. So there are arguments back and forth. But let me say that all those things you have said, Mutegi Njau, we need to ask ourselves as Kenyans as well. You find some Kenyans, even before anybody asks them for a bribe, they actually they are offering. You know, this is the sickness of our society. We must, as Kenyans, be able to tell ourselves, this is my right. I'm entitled to it. Kenyans must argue, must make it impossible for anybody to demand bribes from them, instead of being on the end that they are ready to even propose, you know, offer, you know, bribes because they...
Right, we're winding up now. I'd like to give you an opportunity to respond to our viewers directly. Cheche from Mombasa, you've alluded to this. Our DP has been speaking for a while now. I haven't heard any actual plan on security. He's just speaking randomly. Please give Kenyans a real plan and a time frame for this plan of yours.
I guess he was not listening to me, because the plan for securing this nation is in templates. We have the equipment. What are we doing about equipment? We have police vehicles to make sure that our policemen and women are mobile. They can respond to situations in good time. That's one. Two, police equipment, police communication equipment. That we are working with Safaricom. Cameras are being rolled out. By January, we should be testing the cameras along our highways, every street, every building, in every major town. That is in the works. Number three, we have rolled out an insurance program for all our policemen and women. Every policeman serving today knows that their families, in the event that anything happens to them, will be secure.
Housing.
That's already in the works. Even the people who are caught up, for example, in Kapedo, are covered by that insurance scheme. We are rolling out the building of houses for 20,000 houses for our security men and women, again to make sure that they have the morale to serve us as a nation. We are getting more men and women into the force. That is the plan we have for
Okay.
our rollout, making sure that the country is safe.
Kaveru, DP, you said that citizens have a role to play. That's right. You heard what an elder from Mandera said. They're afraid of passing information on because the police reveal the informers. The police are busy taking bribes, letting anybody pass the border. In Mawa, Meru County, there are multiple roadblocks. It's an entry point from northeastern. Police only collect bribes. Refugees are carried by posh SUVs to Nairobi. No arrest of any. Why? Corruption in the police force.
That's a legitimate concern. I agree with them. We are consistently, as late as yesterday, we are consistently engaging our police and all the investigative agencies to make sure that we rid corruption. And it is true. Sometimes we pay dearly for a bribe of 500 shillings to a policeman letting grenades and guns come into our country. It is a huge, and those grenades and guns are eventually used to kill Kenyans. It is a terrible thing, and we are focusing ourselves on ensuring that we give the police the best. We improve their terms of service so that we dissuade them from looking for 500, 200 shillings, because once we have good terms of service for our policemen and women, as I said, we are giving them a career progression program that they know that their lives will be better tomorrow if they work hard.
Do you know that OCSs and the OCPDs and all those fellows collect money from bar owners throughout this country every week?
I cannot confirm, Mutegi.
I know, because I got...
Similar to that, actually, he does have an active engagement with bar owners.
Yes.
But similar to that, does Ruto know? Does Ruto know that graduates are being sacked when they give views that can help in service? That came from Kennedy in Nairobi.
That would be really unfortunate, because we should be enriching our government service and the development of our country with good ideas, new bright ideas from young people. I don't think we should be penalizing anybody for suggesting better ways of taking our country forward.
Right. Were you alluding to this when you talked about the legal framework? Please ask if they will change the Anti-Terrorism Act so that those suspected of terrorism can remain in custody until their cases are determined. And this has been an issue.
We are making all those changes. We are making all those proposals. If you heard the President's speech yesterday, he said we want to work with the judiciary. We want to work with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions to make sure that we have a wholesome change to the law so that we can actually deal with the matter of terrorism family.
Are we getting any international support, given that this is a global war on terror?
We're getting a lot of support from international partners. We've had many meetings, including yesterday, with many of our international partners to work on how they can help us build capacity for our people, get the right equipment so that we can be able to fight terror.
I'm under pressure to end the program. David, you had one final
I just wanted to point out that, you know, these proposals, speaking as a citizen who wants my freedom and who believes in human rights, should not be geared towards constricting people and their movement or space or freedom. For example, the anti-terrorism laws. Unless we have a similar or counter investigative organs that are efficient and police perform their work, we may end up hauling people on suspicion and locking them up and depriving them of freedoms, yet the failures are with the agencies that are supposed to do a thorough job. So we have to make sure that the agencies are doing a thorough job, so that even the suspects who are held on account of those suspicions of terrorism are actually legitimately held, which is where the problem lies. The capacity of our police to do thorough jobs, to be free of corruption, so that really people are held properly, and then the people who give information are protected, because we have the Witness Protection Act and the agency in this country. But what is it doing? I mean, people are not safe, even as that guy in Mandera says, you give information and you are the target, next target. And finally, my observation is this government, Deputy President, committed to creating a free society, equitable society? And if so, why isn't it moving fast on some of those legislation, for example, pushing for them, such as the access to information, so that we can hold people accountable? For example, Capido deployment, we don't know who failed, that led to those people to be killed. The IG has gone. But if somebody failed, can we get information as to what transpired? We can't because of our society.
We are by the way, we are ahead of time when it comes to what we must do. Most of the legislation, if you are talking of Access to Information Act, we cleared it in Cabinet. We went through the CIC process. It's in Parliament. Parliament, I'm sure, will dispense of that particular legislation. But coming back to what you said earlier,
tightening laws around freedom.
We have to always strike a balance. You know, I hear you saying, do you want to create a police state? In many words, we do not want to go that direction. We must always strike a balance between making sure that we nail the criminals. We make sure that we make it impossible for terrorists to operate in our country while respecting the freedoms of Kenyans. So we must strike a balance. And that is why we are saying we, all of us, have a responsibility. If you are talking of matters of corruption, if you are talking of matters of insecurity, we have said as government that we have a plan. We are getting men, we are getting equipment, we are deploying resources. Citizens too have a role to play, because yes, we have rights in the Constitution, but we have obligations also and responsibilities as citizens. And we are saying, if the police are being bribed in front of you and you are not raising any issue out of it, you are as good as
But sir, who do you raise the issue to? Because this is the problem. You raise the issue and you're targeted.
I talked, for example, with Kenya Anti-Corruption. They said, somebody will raise an issue. And then when you tell them, please, we are very grateful, you have raised this issue, which is corrupt, come and make a statement, so that we can move with you through this process. The fellow goes underground. So we have reports of corruption. I wanted to call the...
It seems that you probably also need to undertake a confidence-building exercise.
Correct.
In some of these public institutions.
We want to tell every Kenyan, and I want to tell every Kenyan from this show, we have a duty. This is our country. We have no other country. This is our country. We have a shared responsibility to make Kenya what we all want it to be. But it will take us walking away from our comfort zone. If you see a policeman engaging in corruption, a public official in an office engaging in corruption, step out of your comfort zone, go for him, report him, insist until the man is prosecuted. That is how we are going to get rid of corruption. If you have a person in your neighborhood whom you suspect is a security threat to our country, step out of your comfort zone, make sure that you report the matters, insist until you get the right answers. That is your right as a citizen. You demand from your government the right answers and make sure that you play your role and obligation as a citizen.
Thank you very much, sir. It sounds like those were very good final words, unless you have any other thoughts.
And I think I have said my piece, and I want to ask all of us, you know, as Kenyans, there are matters that go beyond individuals, this group and that group, this religion or the other, this political party or the other. We must always find it in us to stand up for our country when that call comes. And I think there are moments when we need to stand together, not trying to score.
We did that at Westgate.
When we trying to score.
We did that at Westgate. I don't know why you're doing it now.
Which really doesn't go very far.
Okay.
But I appreciate, thank you very much for having me in this show, and thank you to your listeners for giving us their time. And I'm sure we are in the making of a very great country.
Right. We'll end our conversation there with thanks to you, Deputy President, for your time and for your engagement, a frank and robust engagement, which I think we all enjoyed here. Our thanks also to our panelists, Mutegi Njau and David Makali. We thank you for watching Cheche on Citizen TV. We thank you for engaging with us. My name is Udwa Kamimo. Do enjoy the rest of your week.